So I got the Platinum Trophy in 7 Remake, and as I was sitting here thinking about how amazing this game is, how well it was done, I decided that more positive things need to be said about the ending of this game. Seriously, the amount of hate that the ending of this game, just the ending, is getting, I feel like it's unfair. I feel like it doesn't deserve the amount of hate that it's getting. In fact, when I look at the ending and I see how much sense it makes, it's kind of crazy to me that a lot of people are saying that they love almost the entire game, but they hate the ending. That honestly makes no sense to me, because literally the entire game from the beginning builds up to this ending. So if you hate the ending, you should hate the entire game, because literally, I just said it, the entire game from the beginning, literally the beginning, except for maybe chapter 1, because chapter 1 kind of did follow the original pretty damn closely. But after that, everything went out of whack. Right from chapter 2, everything went out of whack. So I'm trying to figure out, how do people hate the ending but love the rest of the game when the entire game was sticking to one entire idea literally the entire time? I'm so shocked. I'm shocked. So here's what I want to do. I want to talk about the two main things that I'm hearing being brought up mostly every time somebody talks about how bad the ending is. There's two main things that get brought up a lot, and I think that both of these things, for me personally, my own personal opinion, they're not very good reasons to hate on the ending, and because these are the things that actually make the ending perfect. So I'll start with the first thing, and I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible, because honestly, I can go on for hours about this. I could talk for hours about why this ending is perfect and why people should honestly just accept it. Well, you got to accept it anyways. They actually left a message in the game saying whether you like it or not, we're continuing with this story exactly the way it is. I mean, they literally already started it. There's no point in changing it now, right? So, here's the thing. The very first thing I keep hearing is that the ending came out of nowhere. Came out of the blue, straight out of left field. Like, a bunch of people are saying that they did not see this coming at all. And I'm baffled, because I'm like, how did you not see this coming? Literally, by the way, there's gonna be spoilers. Let me say that right now. There's gonna be spoilers for this game. I'm gonna try not to spoil the next game, because every single video that says the ending explained, all they really explain is what's going to happen in the next game. What's going to happen in the next game based on the original game, which you can't do because they open. Okay, look, that's the second thing I want to talk about, so let's not get into that right now. But saying that the ending came out of nowhere makes no sense, and the reason why is because they were throwing not even hints. These weren't even subtle hints. They were smashing this information in your face since the very beginning of the game. So many huge red flags were being waved all up in your face throughout the entire game. If you seriously thought that the ending was going to be the same as the original or something close to that, or I don't know what people were thinking, but if you thought the ending was going to have nothing to do with Sephiroth, the Whispers, Aerith's little crazy ass, she's crazy, she's bipolar as hell. Did you notice how weird she was acting through the entire game? Alright, red flag number one. There's two huge red flags that the original game's players should have noticed, and the brand new players who went into this game blind should have noticed. There's two huge red flags. The other two red flags, the blind players, the ones who are brand new to 7 and they went in blind and they're not spoiled, they don't know the story, they probably wouldn't have noticed it. But the first two, everyone should have noticed it. The very first red flag, huge red flag, the moment you meet Aerith, what happens? Sephiroth grabs her, stops time, like completely just stops it, and gets all up in Cloud's face. That doesn't happen in the original. Huge red flag. Not only that, throughout the entire game, he is tormenting Cloud. He is showing up left and right. That does not happen in the original game at all. Sephiroth does not keep showing up every 30 minutes in the original game. Oh, he didn't show up every 30 minutes in the remake, but still, you get where I'm coming from. This man shows up everywhere. He shows up everywhere throughout the entire game. He's constantly in Cloud's face. That does not happen in the original game. That's a huge red flag. That alone, the moment you met Aerith and he just randomly shows up like, what's up? You should have, that should have said something to you. You should have been like, this is not the same game. This is not the same. It's not going to go the same. It's not going to end the same. This is not the same game anymore. Huge red flag. Red flag number 2, the ghosts. What the hell? Like, am I the only one that had that reaction when I first saw them? The whispers, they're ghosts that never was even mentioned in the original game. Who the hell saw those ghosts and thought, oh, there's a bunch of ghosts, well, let's continue with the original story? If anybody thought that, you weren't paying attention. I'm just going to be honest. If you saw Sephiroth showing up left and right, these ghosts are showing up left and right. They're showing up a lot too through the entire game. And you really thought that the ending wasn't going to have something to do with these ghosts and Sephiroth? You just weren't paying attention. I'm just going to be blunt about it. I'm going to be honest about it. You weren't paying attention. And I'm talking about whether you're a fan of the OG Final Fantasy VII, or you're a brand new fan who just bought the game, who just found out what Final Fantasy VII is, and you went in blind. Either way, the game is showing you right off the bat, Sephiroth is bad news. Even if you don't know the original story, even if you don't know nothing about Sephiroth, the game is showing you this man, you don't know who he is, but he is bad news. Huge red flag. These whispers are bad news. They're not really bad news, but to you they seem like bad news because they're all up in your face. They're stopping you from doing what you got to do. I'm talking about if you're going in the game blind, if you know the original story, then probably halfway through, maybe a little bit after halfway through, then you probably would have realized that these whispers are not good or bad. They're just trying to preserve the original story. They're not good or bad. You probably realize that, but for those of you that went in blind, you probably didn't realize that because you don't know the original story, right? And you shouldn't know the original story, which is kind of the second thing I want to talk about. So I'm trying to steer clear of that. Let's stick to the first thing. Red flag number 3, Aerith acts weird as hell, and it just gets worse and worse as the game progresses. When you first meet her, she seems pretty normal. The only thing that's off about her is that these ghosts are like bothering the hell out of her, right? And we don't know why because they're not in the original story. But as the game progresses, she gets more and more weird. Every time something gets brought up about Sephiroth or something gets brought up about anything that has to do with the original story that's going out of whack, she acts weird. She acts like she already knew what was going to happen and suddenly, or she already knows the information that she wasn't supposed to know yet, and then she quickly tries to deviate the conversation. Have you ever noticed that they'll be talking and then she'll like start saying something that she already knows that they don't know yet, and then she'll like quickly like switch it up, and then at the very end she just blows your freaking mind. She's like, oh, by the way, I know everything, and Sephiroth, screw him. He's a freaking asshole. I wonder why. So that's red flag number 3. The new players wouldn't catch that because they don't know how Aerith is supposed to act, what she's supposed to know, what she's not supposed to know. But those of us who played the OG, we know, and we should know. You should have known. Like I said before, if you didn't notice it, then you just weren't paying attention. So that's red flag number 3. Not quite as big as the first 2, but it's still pretty big for those of us that know the original story. Red flag number 4, I guess that could have went over people's head, but Cloud was seeing visions of the future. That doesn't happen in the original game. If you didn't catch that, I guess he has visions of the future. He has sudden flashbacks of the past. He just goes crazy. Sephiroth's all up in his head. Cloud's all screwed up in the head. So I guess if some people didn't catch that, then I guess that one's okay. It's okay if that one went over your head because all kinds of crap is going on. This man's mind is just all screwed up. Like Cloud is up. You know what I mean? So it's okay if you missed that one. So those are the 4 major, well, 2 of them are major, 2 of them are kind of, they're pretty, in my eyes, they're pretty big red flags. So those are the 4 what I consider major red flags that should have told you something's not right. Something's clearly not right. This is not the original game. This is so much not the original game that the developers actually put creatures in the game to try to keep the game on the same level as the original game. It's all kinds of all over the place, right? You should have saw this coming. If you really thought this was going to end the same way that Disc 1 ended, you weren't paying attention. Straight up. And that's one of the number 1 things I keep hearing is that the ending just came out of nowhere. They just came up and slapped you in the face with all this random crap. People actually said they slapped you in the face with all this random stuff. I'm like, how is it random when the entire game was talking about Sephiroth and the whispers, and Aerith was acting weird, and Cloud was getting flashes of the future, and he started crying because he felt the pain from when stuff happened in Disc 2. I'm trying not to do spoilers on the next game, for just in case there's anybody who who went in blind in this game and they don't know what's going to happen next, and we honestly, none of us know what's going to happen next. And that is the second thing I want to bring up. The second biggest thing I keep hearing over and over about why the ending sucked is because it was too confusing. You know why the ending is confusing, everyone? Because everyone is trying to find answers in an ending that wasn't meant to give answers to begin with. Seriously. There are so many videos out right now that are titled Final Fantasy VII Remake's Ending Explained. There are videos everywhere. There are articles everywhere explaining the ending. The problem with that is that there's nothing to explain. The only thing they can really explain to you is stuff like who is Zack, who is Genova, who is Sephiroth, what's going to happen in the next game based off of the old game. That's the only thing that literally anybody can explain. But people trying to explain the new stuff that's going to happen, there's no such thing because nobody knows. Every single video of every single person guessing what's going to happen is literally just that. It's guessing, it's theories, it's conspiracies. Like, nobody knows. And that is why this ending is so perfect. But before I get into why the ending is perfect, let's back up a little bit. People need to understand this first game is based off of Disc 1. The original Final Fantasy VII is a full story spread across 3 discs. People are upset because they're not getting the full story in the first game. They even went out of their way to tell everybody it's gonna be episodic. You know, which they shouldn't have had to tell you that because this first game is only Midgar. Midgar was only the first disc. Well, part of the first disc. So anybody who said that they knew what was gonna happen after Midgar, they're lying. Anybody who said that, they're lying. Anybody who said they knew what was gonna happen on disc 2 after disc 1, they're lying. Anybody who went in blind, let me say that because this game's been out for like 20 years, a lot of people know the story. Anybody who went in blind, they're lying. Nobody at all knew what was going to happen after disc 1. And that's exactly what they did with this game. You're supposed to play game 1, which is episode 1, and then later move on to episode 2 and find out what's going to happen. They're going to explain everything. They're not going to just tell you right away what the hell is going on in episode 1. Name any, let me not say that. I was about to say, name any story that gives you the full story in episode 1, because there probably is something out there that I don't know about where they tell you the whole story in episode 1 and then they have 11 more episodes of God knows what. But most of the time, there's not too many stories. They're going to tell you everything in episode 1. You have to wait to the next episodes. Look at Naruto. Naruto, how many episodes was that? And it took forever for them to explain crap that happened all the way back in episode 1. They didn't explain it till episode 200. Same thing. It's the exact same thing. You just have to wait till the next game to find all this stuff out. Now, there is one thing that's going around a lot, and I kind of want to touch up on this too. A lot of people are saying that you have to play the original Final Fantasy VII to understand the remake. No. Let me be the first one to say it. No, you don't. And a lot of people are gonna flame the hell out of me for saying it. But no, you don't. You do not need to play the original Final Fantasy VII to understand the remake. Now, granted, it's not a bad idea to play the original because it'll give you a lot more insight on what's going on. But part 2 is going to explain everything. They're not, I mean, I could be wrong. Let me just say that. I could be dead wrong. They might not explain everything. They might go full force with this story and not explain what the hell happened before compared to what's happening now. But that would honestly make no sense. I'm pretty sure they're going to explain everything in part 2 or part 3 if there is a part 3. You don't need to play the original. And I need to throw that out there because there are some people, and I know this for a fact because I have kids, and my kids, well, one of them doesn't care because he likes Final Fantasy 15. But the one that likes Final Fantasy 7, he straight up told me he can't bring him, as much as he loves Final Fantasy 7. He's seen Advent Children. He plays Cloud on Smash Bros. Like, he loves Final Fantasy 7. But he can't bring himself to play the original because he can't get past the aged graphics and the battle system, which is fine. That's not for everyone. If you can't bring yourself to play the original, don't sit here and stress about it and feel like, oh my god, I'm missing out on important stuff because I can't play the original. No, don't stress about that. Way too many people are saying you have to play the original to understand the remake. No, you don't. If you play the original, You can understand more about part 1 before part 2 comes out, but honestly, it's not a necessity. You can actually wait for part 2. It's going to explain everything. There's no way in hell they're going to just let this shit right out and not explain anything. There's no way. At least I don't think so. I don't think so. If I'm wrong, then please feel free 2, 3, 4 years from now when part 2 comes out. If they don't explain anything that happened in part 1 or anything about their past that happened in the original that's changing in the new story, if they don't explain it, please feel free to come here and call me whatever you want. I'll take all of it. I'll take it all. But for real, you don't need to play the original. Yeah, it sucks to have to wait because God knows how long it's going to take for the next one to come out. And that's honestly the only advantage that those of us who played the original way back in the day versus those of you who are playing the remake now who are brand new to the game, that's the only advantage that we had, was that the moment disc 1 ended, we were able to just pop disc 2 in. That's the only advantage we really have over you guys. We were able to continue the story immediately. You guys have a little bit of a wait. You guys actually have a long wait, because if it does end up being 3 games, then you gotta wait a few years for part 2, and then you gotta wait another few years for part 3. Yes, that sucks. I get it. It does. But I'm just saying, you don't have to play the original. It sucks if you have to wait so long, but I'm just saying. It's not a necessity, but it's not a bad idea. The original is amazing. I love that game. It's my favorite game of all time. It's my second favorite game of all time now, honestly. The only reason I say the original is better than the remake, they're both, if I had to review both of them and give them both a grade, they would both be 10 out of 10. I freaking love them. The only reason the first one is better is because you're paying for one game and you can get the whole story right away. That's the only reason. Remake, you got to pay for 3 games, even though you're getting 3 full games. That's actually part of the problem. A lot of people were confused about what they meant by part 1 was a full game and that the whole thing was going to be episodic. A lot of people didn't understand that. What they meant by it's a full game, it's not the full story, it's only a portion of the story. That's why I'm saying people need to stop trying to make sense of an ending that's not really an ending. It's not an ending, it's an ending, but it's like a to be continued. It's not set in stone, you know what I mean? It's not something that you're supposed to linger on and keep watching and try to figure out what the hell they mean. What they meant by it's gonna be a full game is it has the full length of a full game. I said that all messed up. It has the length of a full game. You got a full maybe 40 hours to beat the game on your first playthrough, and then after you're done you can beat it again on hard mode, and it's actually a lot of fun beating it again on hard mode. Like, the boss battles get that much more difficult. They're not that much more difficult, but the fact that you can't use items really hits you pretty hard. On top of that, it has an arena. It has that VR simulator where you get to fight all these creatures and you get to fight your own summons. Like, there's a lot to do after you beat the game. They have that whack-a-box challenge that it's not really that fun, but it's something you can do if you're trying to get the platinum trophy. There's a lot of stuff to do in there. It has as much entertainment as a full game. I've bought games and beat them within 6 hours. I've paid full price for games and beat them within 6 hours and had nothing to do after I beat the game. Now that sucks. A lot of people are talking about, oh, Remake sucks because it's only a third of the story. No, man, what sucks is buying Devil May Cry 2 and beating that thing immediately after you just paid full price for it. That sucks. That really sucked. I still love that game. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people say that's the worst in the series. I love that game. It is the worst in the series, but I still love that game. Anyways, I believe we covered everything. I'm kind of all over the place. Anybody who has seen my channel before, you already know I'm all over the place when I talk about stuff. So I think I covered everything. Now I'm going to tell you why the ending is perfect and what they could do to end this game perfectly. And a lot of people are going to hate what I say. The reason this ending is perfect is because when they first announced the remake, I was super happy for my kids. I was happy for this entire generation of kids. I was like, damn, they're going to be able to experience Final Fantasy VII the way we experienced it back in the day when the original came out. Oh my god. But then I was upset. I was like, you know what? They're not going to experience it the same way we did, because a lot of the kids today have been spoiled. A lot of people already know the story of the original. They're not going to have the same impact we had. When all the crazy stuff happened in the original, it impacted a lot of people. A lot of people were sad. A lot of people were pissed off with some of the crazy stuff that happened in the original. And a lot of the kids today, because of all the spoilers going around, because yeah, it is a 20-year-old game, over 20 years old, a lot of them aren't going to feel that. They're not going to get that impact, that sudden when they see the crazy stuff happen. So I was like, damn, that actually sucks. And then I realized it's a remake. And it's a remake of one of the biggest games in history. One of the most talked about games in history. Is it the biggest game in history? Probably not. I'm pretty sure it's not, because more than a lot of people hate Final Fantasy in general, and quite a few people dislike Final Fantasy 7. A lot of people prefer Final Fantasy 6 over Final Fantasy 7. I'm pretty sure 7 is the most popular one. Pretty damn sure. But a lot of people do prefer 6 over 7. And actually, I just recently heard that a lot of people prefer 9 over 7. I honestly never heard that before, but I just recently heard that. Every conversation I always heard was between 6 and 7, like all the time, and then suddenly 9 came out of nowhere. Anyways, this is one of the biggest games in history, and it had a huge impact on all the people that cared about it. They can't just remake a game that left such a huge impact on all of its players that genuinely cared about this game. You can't just remake that. If they would have remade this game the exact same way as the original, but with better graphics and a better battle system and a few more side stories to add on to, it wouldn't, it would have worked. It would have worked great. Nobody would have complained, obviously. But as far as the impact that this remake would have left, it wouldn't have worked, because everybody already knows the story. It'll work on those of the kids who don't know the story, but for the many and the many who already know the story, it wouldn't have worked, and it wouldn't have felt as big of a game as the original. The original just felt huge because of all the crap that happened. But now that people already know what's going to happen, all these new kids are going to play through it, and they're going to be like, oh, I already saw it coming, so whatever. I already braced myself for it. But now, because of the ending of part 1, they just opened it up for an incredible world of opportunities. They can blow our minds again, not just the new players, but the old players. Everybody. Once again, Final Fantasy VII has an opportunity to once again blow everybody's mind that genuinely cares about this game. It can literally do exactly what the original did when it first came out. Literally. They actually made the perfect ending to open it up to where they can just impact everybody once again. And I love it. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And there is one more thing I keep hearing people say. Not keep hearing, it's popped up a few times. A lot of people, well, I don't know if it's a lot of people, but some people are thinking that they're going to completely change the story. I don't think they are. I think they're going to actually do exactly what they did with part 1. They're going to go through the exact same scenarios that they went through in the old game, but obviously there's going to be some changes here and there, just like part 1 was. Like part 1, they went through literally every single big moment that they went through in the original. Every single thing, they actually went through it. It's going to be the same thing. Then the reason why is because even though they know, Aerith already explained to them, Cloud seeing vision of the future, even though they know that things are not going the way they were supposed to originally go, even though they know this, they still don't know what's going to happen. So they're still going to go do all the things that they did in the original. They're still going to go after Sephiroth. They're still going to chase him to all these different places they keep hearing that he's at. They're still going to go through all the same things. There's nothing stopping them. The only person who probably already knows where they're supposed to go is Aerith. And she actually seems like that she wants everything to go the same way. So I don't think she's going to stop them. She's not going to say anything, because in part 1 she didn't say anything until the very end. Then she finally told them, well, she still didn't say anything. All she told them was, Sephiroth is bad news. We need to kill this man. Cloud was like, I was already planning to anyway. So, you know what I mean? So I don't think she's going to stop them from going to the places that they were supposed to go to begin with. So the second game, I think, is going to be just like the first. We're going to see all the big moments that were in the original, but there's going to be differences here and there, obviously. Pretty sure that's how it's going to go, and I hope that's what they do, because the first one, it was absolutely amazing. I love that game. I hope they do the exact same thing in the second and the third one. Now, here's the thing. You want to know how they could blow everybody's mind? This would piss a lot of people off, but it makes so much sense. And this is a huge spoiler. For those of you who don't know the original story, you might want to cut the video right now, because this is a huge spoiler from what happened in the original way later in the game. Everybody already knows about this. But anyways, huge spoiler. If you don't want to know, if you only know the remake and that's it, then you might want to cut the video off. So here we go. We all know Aerith dies, right? Everybody knows. Well, not everybody, obviously, but quite a few people know about this. That same scenario won't work again. A lot of people are saying they might trick you into thinking you can save her and then kill her anyways. Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people are already thinking that way, so that really wouldn't work. It would work on some people, but it wouldn't work on everybody. You know what would mess everybody up? Oh my god. The original game, it pissed a lot of people off, because remember, you put all this time into those of us who actually liked Aerith a lot, and we actually like leveled her up and all this stuff, and then just for her to die and wasted all that experience, oh my god. You know what I mean? That pissed a lot of people off. How do you do that again? How do you do such a huge impact? You kill Tifa this time. Oh my goodness! They have to kill Tifa. They have to. That would piss everybody off. It would be perfect. They have to kill Tifa. Not only is it a good idea to kill Tifa, they actually already set it up in part 1. They set it up already. Remember when they were in Shinra and they were going through that simulator that was telling them the past of Midgar and the ancients and all that, and then Cloud had a hallucination or maybe even a vision of Sephiroth killing Barret and Tifa? So correct me if I'm wrong, but in that hallucination slash possibly a vision, Sephiroth killed Barret and Tifa, right? And then later on in the game, like not even that far later, he actually did kill Barret, but then the Whispers saved him because it wasn't his time to go in the original game, right? But now the Whispers are gone, and he hasn't killed Tifa yet. Imagine if later on in the part 2, if Cloud actually, part 2 or part 3, I wouldn't really. So Cloud actually sees the vision of Aerith dying. Maybe Aerith tells Cloud she's gonna die. Maybe she's like, Sephiroth is gonna kill me, but you have to let him do it because this is essential to saving the world, right? Imagine if at that very moment Cloud is like, nah, screw this, I'm saving her. So he runs up to Aerith, he grabs her, he looks around, he's like, where is Sephiroth? I'm not gonna let him kill you. And then Sephiroth shows up behind Tifa. Bam! She's done. Oh my god. That would piss everybody off. That would piss everybody off. It would make everybody sad. Some people would cry because let's be real, Tifa is like one of the #1 waifus in the world. One of the #1 waifus in history. She's more popular than Aerith. I'm just going to say it. She is. I don't even need to just say it because it's already fact. How many people love Tifa more than Aerith? Granted, yeah, Aerith's death probably has a lot to do with it because once she died, people they were sad for a while, and then they were like, okay, it's time to move on. Who do we move on to? There's only one person in the whole game to move on to now. That's Tifa. She has a lot of fans. Believe me when I say she has a lot of fans. And even before Aerith died, I'm pretty sure Tifa had more fans. I can give you 2 huge reasons why she has more fans. Sad to say. It's true, though. If you want to leave an even bigger impact, no, not even bigger impact. I don't think it's possible to leave a bigger impact than the original because the original, nobody saw a death coming. This time now we see it coming. You know what I mean? No matter who it is, we see it coming. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be as big, but that's going to be huge. That's going to be, well, it's not going to be because I honestly don't think it's going to happen. They're not going to do that. That would be insane if they did that. But if you really want to attempt to make the remake have as big of an impact as the original, oh my god, let Cloud go out of his way to save Aerith just to have Tifa get it. Ugh, oh my god. So that is why I believe that the ending of Remake is perfect. And my god, this ended up being a really long video. If you actually made it this far, I appreciate that. Even if you didn't make it this far, then you can't even hear my voice right now, but I appreciate you for even clicking the video at all. I appreciate that. Even those of you who looked at the video and thought about clicking on it and then you didn't, you're like, yeah, screw this guy. I appreciate you too, just for looking at it, just for looking at that thumbnail and being like, maybe. Let me shut up now. So, so please like it if you like it, and don't subscribe if you want more because I don't do this stuff. I just felt like more positive things needed to be said about the ending because the ending, in my personal opinion, is perfect. It's absolutely perfect because now, because they opened it up, they can once again blow everybody's mind. And I think it's perfect.